All right, we're back and we're going to talk about something that matters to everybody. It's called money and salaries and what you get paid for your job. And we have a pair of posts. One is up on DevOps.com talking about, on average, the DevOps engineers are making about 140K a year. Now, that varies widely depending on where you are in the country and what kind of job you have. So the average is just that, an average. But we also have a story up on platformengineering.com talking about how, well, platform engineers are making more than your average DevOps engineer. And maybe this is the new job title to get and go after and have. And this whole space seems to be evolving. Alan, I know you cover the space closely, but what do you think's going on here in terms of the hierarchy of IT folks and who makes what?
It's interesting. We actually did a podcast on this on our Platform Engineering Show podcast, myself and Luca Galenti, who kind of runs the platformengineering.org site, which is a huge community site. Yes, platform engineer is a new hot title, and people are paying a premium for it. DevOps engineer, and whether you believe that that's the right title or not, but DevOps engineers have had surprisingly great staying power, making also around 140. There's not a huge gap between the platform engineer and I think that was 150 maybe. I think the thing, look, they're both pretty well compensated positions. I think the bigger issue is how many openings are there for platform engineers? How many openings are there for DevOps engineers? The interesting thing about platform engineers, it's a new title with an old job, right? We used to call these people sysadmins. We used to, you know what I mean? They be it ever, no matter how it smells, or it would still smell, well, no matter how it looks, would it still smell as sweet, or whatever the right Shakespearean quote is there about roses. We put a new title on them and we pay them a little bit more money. The bottom line is tech engineering roles are in demand still. AI hasn't quite replaced them all just yet. I think you're going to have ups and downs and waves depending what's in vogue, and certainly platform engineering's in vogue right now. But I don't think there's a big gap there. I think the bigger issue is how many openings are there for these roles, and can people get those jobs? I know a lot of my friends, not only in the DevOps and the platform engineering space, but especially in the cyberspace, which has also been traditionally a full employed kind of vertical. A lot of my friends are having hard times finding jobs. Stacy, I know you've dealt with this, and a lot of your friends have as well. No matter what they're paying, are there enough jobs out there? I mean, we're told there's all these openings, but yet it's taking people 8-9 months to find a job.
Yeah. Well, and some of that is what the companies are going through. What's the hiring process? What are the perks around it too? This in-office work. Do they have to come into the office to work? That's one that's strong, is finding the jobs that are a right match out there for people. And there are jobs out there, but really it's like you have to know someone. You have to apply over and over again, and it becomes really disheartening for people. So there are the jobs out there, but they're just really hard to find. And then to make yourself stand out as a candidate and to make sure that you're getting your needs filled, whether it's being in office or working at home. I see the working from home piece that comes up more often than not with companies being asked to bring people back in, whether they need to or not, because especially I think for developers and engineers, they can do most of the work from home. And so people will sometimes turn down opportunities. The opportunities may be there, but if it's not fitting either their work-life balance or the needs that they have in their day-to-day life, then they're not being considered, or they're being considered and then the wrong people get put into them and they come up again, causing churn and causing issues internally. So the jobs are out there. It's hard finding fit and it's hard standing out.
I think there's another component to this as well, especially in the discussion we just had around, platform engineering versus sysadmins versus, developers. And that is the whole notion of presence do I have to be there? To your point, Stacy, but to one more, I think there's, again, another component to this, and that is that for DevOps, for instance, if I've got software to develop, I can, farm that out to some group in India that'll work for a quarter of the cost and still give me my software. Platform engineering is a little different because you really do need to be on site. You need to be present. You need to see what's going on from the hardware perspective, the networking perspective, the integrations perspective. And so, and that's also reflected in the salaries, because if there's more competition, salaries go down, right? It's just normal economics. So it's a pretty interesting discussion about what does it really mean that there are jobs available but people aren't getting hired. A lot of that, I think, is a discussion around, do I outsource it or do I actually hire somebody here in the States? The political ramifications that we're going through right now aside, I think that's still a major discussion in a lot of companies that I see having that thought process going through, and it takes some time for them to get through it.
So there's another human factor here I'd just like to mention. Both these types of jobs, DevOps engineers, and even more so for platform engineers, have a level of stress that can be not so fun, because I've sat in both of these jobs. And, the whole term platform engineering is the idea of bringing into the DevOps process, or bringing DevOps more into creating these self-service environments so development teams can get onboarded more quickly, and many other things, how to better streamline your production environments. It's kind of an expansion of the site reliability engineer role, in my opinion. But when you're talking about DevOps, this is an important role. It's compiling and making sure it's building and deploying. It can be very stressful, it can be very hard, it can be frustrating. And platform engineering even goes farther into managing these live environments. And our live environments are becoming more and more complex. So in terms of these two jobs, it doesn't surprise me that that people are hiring people in more remote situations. It doesn't surprise me that the salaries are saying, I think that it should between 140 and 200,000, because they're critical jobs and they are stressful, different from a software developer. So if you're out there looking for work, there are jobs out there. But one of the other problems that we're having right now as an industry is many companies, and the Ortelius community have just been doing this job seekers series. Many companies rely on LinkedIn now to do their hiring. They use LinkedIn as a primary platform. And software developers, platform engineers, and DevOps engineers, we're not storytellers. And your LinkedIn profile has to have a story. You have to look interesting. You have to get noticed. This is a real problem for engineering types. We don't do that. We're very dry. We want to put some 5 bullet points out there and leave it at that. And they're all acronyms. So if you are out looking for a job, you look to services that help you create and build your LinkedIn profile. It's not just about your resume anymore. Make sure you have references, because every single person that's listening here that's been in this industry and is looking for work today have people they know they've worked with. Get your references up. Make sure you have something that pops on your banner. It is a silly thing to ask for somebody super technical and has been solving problems for big companies for years and years and years, but it doesn't work to have a list of acronyms. So that is my big push for you today, is spend some money on your LinkedIn profile if you're struggling with finding work.
Yeah, no, I mean, good advice, JC. I will tell you, I'm of an age where, it was always the headhunters who would call you up, or the exec, search people would say, hey, you're interested in, I've got this great position, blah, 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 blah. Or if I was looking to hire for a position, I'd go out and find someone who's going to go find, and it's an expensive proposition. Well, that's been totally replaced, I think, today with the LinkedIns of the world. But as you said, not everyone is that savvy to sell themselves on LinkedIn. And there should be a course. There probably is a course on that somewhere. Stacy,
Yeah, there's lots of people that specialize, even just helping people with their LinkedIn profiles. I struggle with it. I'm not a big poster, online, or I don't post to my socials very much. My presence is difficult. And I was submitting for a book publication. They said, "Well, how many followers do you have on Twitter?" Sorry, I can't call it X, but still X Twitter, whatever. But how many followers do you have? And I thought, well, what about the content of the proposal? No, it's about my followers. It was all about social media presence. I said, that's not me, though. I'm not out there spewing information and posting everything. And so I had to kind of think about that. Like, how do I, who am I? And I'm not somebody who's comfortable just posting every day and putting myself out there. But I watch the people who do it, and they get noticed. So you have to be strategic about it. And I love that advice. Just to, how do you put yourself out there in a way that's strategic, stays noticed, but also you're posting something that's meaningful, or you're designing your own profile in a way that's meaningful, has the information, has the titles, has the recommendations in a way that doesn't seem too cumbersome and represents who you are. And yeah, there are companies, there are people that can help you through that, and it is worthwhile to get it, because there's little tricks to it. There's little ways to put things in there that can be more effective. And it becomes back to that networking, and do people know that you're available and what you're looking for and who you are, so that you stay in someone's mind when something comes up. Oh, I know, somebody that does this, DevOps or platform engineering. I know somebody, or I've seen their posts.
Yeah, and just a tip on that. One of the recruiters said, or actually two of them agreed, don't put open to work on your LinkedIn profile.
That was one of those little tricks that I went, really?
I know. And most of the people who were on this webinar that were looking for work had that listed, they were posted that they were open to work. So don't do that, because then it turns off the recruiter. They won't even, they'll just bypass you.
So, who's to say who's what is my question. It's like, so I'm a DevOps engineer and somebody posts a job for a platform engineer. I'm like, sure, I'm a platform engineer. Who's to say I'm not?
I think you got to look at what the requirements for the job are. And that brings up something else. I love when looking for a platform engineer with 12 years experience. Well, platform engineering has been a thing for 3. And we had this with DevOps too early on. DevOps engineers, 10 years experience. Well, DevOps has only been around 5. And by the way, you have to have a PhD, and 2 masters would be next. There is a bigger problem in our tech space. We see it in cybersecurity as well. Does experience trump education? Are we being realistic in what the prereqs for a particular job are? What happened to just strong oral and written language skills, right? I still think that's communication skills is very, very important. If you're teachable and coachable, I can make you anything, just about. So I then my 2 cents right there.
A lot of companies are dealing with recruiters too, who may not be necessarily technical. And so it's kind of your point on, it's like, if there's a checklist of things that I'm looking for, okay, yes, there we go. That checklist, the degree, that checklist, and sometimes that's what recruiters are looking at. They don't necessarily understand the nuances of what the actual hiring manager may need, though they work their best to do that. And a lot of if you're just applying for jobs off of websites, you get lost in the batch. Like when I've hired for roles, within 3 days, I had over 300 applicants, and there could have been the most amazing applicants in that pool. I didn't have the time to really look and go through them. And quite honestly, neither did the recruiter so much. So that's also an uphill battle with some of these highly technical roles that are also nuanced in ways that the front door doesn't recognize.
I would just say we're all great communicators now. We have ChatGPT, right?
Exactly. Exactly. All right. On that note, let's end this. Guys, great discussion today. Tracy, Stacy, Jack, thank you so much. Mike, as always, thank you. I hope you've enjoyed. This is a great way to kick off your Monday. As usual, we have a full TechStrong TV lineup immediately following today's show, so stay tuned for that. If you're watching this on demand on our OTT app, maybe, go check that out. ott.techstronggroup.com. You can also download it on iOS, Google Play, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, Roku, or what have you, or on YouTube, maybe at Textron TV. But no matter how you watch it, thank you for watching it. We'll be back tomorrow with more gang, but for now, this is Alan Schimmel. We're out.